Hey, what's up guys? I'm Kevin Eknes, and today I wanted to have a little chat about compressors. So compression is one of those things that a lot of players either have a love or a hate relationship to. However, it's pretty safe to say that every single recording engineer that you record with is going to apply some sort of compression to the guitar track. To me, it really enhances certain frequencies in the guitar tone that are kind of nice, and it makes it stick out in a mix in a very kind of pleasant way. Also, it enhances a lot of the string separation, and everything is just clearer and not necessarily in kind of like a bright way, but everything is just more kind of present in a very good way. And so the general kind of history of compression is that it basically takes all the loud signal in your guitar tone and pushes it down, although that could also be called a limiter. And you also have the opposite, where a lot of the kind of low pick notes are boosted volume-wise. So the result of that is kind of like a squashed but compressed sound that doesn't have the same dynamic range as an uncompressed signal. Now, there are multiple uses. It used to be called sustain back in the day because it really enhances sustain, and it can be kind of associated with like that cluck from kind of chicken picking. There's something to that attack, and basically what it does is the kind of attack ratio in a compression effect kind of eliminates a certain part of the sag in your guitar tone. So whenever you pick a note, it's going to happen faster and basically eliminates the bloom from the guitar. For this particular video, I wanted to take a look at the Strymon Compadre, which is an absolutely stunningly good compression and boost in one. Now, I personally use compression in kind of like a non-traditional guitarist kind of a way, and I kind of aim toward that kind of studio kind of a tone. To me, it's important to deliver like a very clear and kind of pristine sounding sound, especially for live playing. The guitar tone should not be any worse than what you would get in the studio, and so I think that a big part of that is actually the compression. Now, where I like to put the compression is usually in the effects loop or after the gain. A lot of other tutorials will encourage you to put it in front, but I think that changes the tone of the guitar so much, and it also very much just limits your dynamic range. Unless you're new to this channel, you probably know that I like very heavily distorted guitar tone, but I also really need that dynamic range to be there. So any kind of guitar tone that I tweak and set is going to be heavily distorted with the volume pot at 10, but I want to be able to put it to fully clean as you roll the volume back. If you put the compression in front of the amp or before the overdrive pedal, that's going to compress the guitar signal, and whatever changes you do in the volume control is not going to be as drastic. Now, if you don't have a treble bleed, you may get a reduction in kind of the high end, and that could give you kind of the illusion that a lot of gain is reduced. However, that's just high frequencies. I really like treble bleed mods or the capacitor and resistor in my volume pots so that the frequency range pretty much stay the same throughout the entire taper of the volume pot. So I wanted to check out how closely the Compadre could come to, say, like a rack compression, or in this case, it's like a plugin. I'm just using the stock Logic plugin for this experiment, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just a guitar phrase, chord, or kind of like a single note line, just a couple different variations. First dry, and then I'm going to play it or repeat it, and then we're going to add the compression from Logic, and then a third time where we're just adding the compression of the Compadre, obviously turning off the compression from Logic. And it's just the stock Logic compression, it's simple. One of the big reasons why the Compadre is such a special tool for this kind of usage is because it has such a low noise floor that it's very possible to put it in the effects loop or after the gain pedals. Now, a lot of other compressors out there that doesn't have as low of a noise floor will just sound very kind of buzzy and not kind of usable. Now, another kind of reason why the Compadre is such a cool pedal to put in the effects loop or after your overdrive pedals is because of the boost section of this pedal. Now, the boost, when put after the kind of distorted signals, will just enhance all of the kind of guitar tone that you already have, especially if it's a flat, clean boost, which this one features. So how I like to use that is just put it a little bit above the kind of guitar tone that you normally have and use that for certain guitar parts or kind of signature licks, maybe even a solo that you kind of want to cut through the mix just a little bit, but you want to kind of return to the volume that you were just at before that particular signature part that you needed to just cut through the mix. And so it's a very quick way to kind of get there and get back again, so you don't have to worry about kind of finding the golden middle ground with the volume pedal and then pushing it back. If it's put before your gain or in front of the amp, it'll actually increase guitar output, so it'll kind of emulate like a hotter pickup and distort more. Now, the pedal is going to respond very differently whether it's compressing just the guitar signal or if it's compressing the kind of amp signal. And this is not to say that it's wrong to put it in front of the amp. I just want you to consider and experiment with the kind of opposite, because everybody that I've seen really encourages it right after the guitar tone, but I kind of want to be kind of devil's advocate here in this case. I'm a huge fan of Plexi kind of tones, and one of my favorite tones there is out there is when you put a treble boost in front of a good Plexi. To me, that's just kind of like a golden sound, and this pedal is just able to achieve that if you choose to put it in front of the amp. It's a very simple pedal, but it's so powerful and it's a lot of fun to use, and I highly encourage you to check it out. Experiment with putting the compressor that you may already have in the effects loop. If it's very noisy, then maybe check out the Compadre. If you already have a Compadre, then try it in the effects loop. I highly recommend it, and I think it just enhances all the good parts of your guitar tone. Another crucial element of a guitar compression pedal to me is the ability to kind of mix in between the wet signal and the dry signal, and so this dry knob really comes in handy with this. Same thing would go for if your compression has like a mix knob or if it has a blend knob. Let's dig into some of the features of the Compadre. The Compadre has two modes of compression, the studio and the squeeze. The studio is a smooth and transparent compression that's based off of the vintage racks, while the squeeze is a heavier compression with longer sustain, and it's based off of the kind of classic compression pedals. The boost section of this pedal features up to 14 decibel of a boost, and also the dirty boost type has a soft clipping circuit that's kind of similar to, like, say, a tube screamer without the associated kind of a mid push. I want to take you through a couple of different uses of this pedal. Let's check out what it sounds like in front of the amp, in this case the Iridium pedal. Let's check out what it sounds like after the Iridium pedal. So it's almost like an effects loop before it hits the digital effects. Let's check out what it sounds like in the effects loop of my Victory Sheriff 22. Compression is one of those effects that could be seemingly overwhelming to start tweaking. Now, where you want to start is at the threshold. The threshold was kind of commonly known as sustain back in the day. And aside from that, it basically is however much guitar signal is needed before the effect is activated. Now, the second part is going to be the attack parameter, which is going to be how fast the compression actually grabs the note. So a faster attack is going to eliminate a lot of the bloom from your guitar tone, especially if you're using, say, vintage kind of pickups. And then you're going to have the release, which is how fast the effect just lets go of the guitar tone or note. So I really like this because you basically have the compression knob here, which toggles all of that. You can change the attack quite heavily with the squeeze function, and so just depending on what kind of mode that you're running the Compadre in, it's very much just touch and go. There's no bad settings on it basically. One feature that was possibly accidental but super cool is the sizing and placement of the compression knob, which enables you to kind of tweak it on the fly or at the gig if you want. Same thing with the boost. Well, I hope you enjoyed this kind of lesson review kind of a thing. Let me know in the comments below if you like this format or not. And without anything else to say, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you next time.